The last Friday, May 17 of 2013, we visit the microbiology lab of the Gimnasio Campestre. The objective of this activity was to analyze if into any water ponds exists or lived any organism, bacteria, or parasite in an ecosystem. In order to obtain a good result, each group had to collect a sample of water from any pond and analyze it in the microscope. For doing this experiment, we used Pasteur pipette to take out the water from the cup and to put it into a sheet of glass. Then, we examined it with the microscope in low power, medium power, and high power. After seeing this in the experiment, we were able to understand that in the ponds were several individuals that interacted in the same ecosystem. We saw many microorganisms like mainly flagels, sporozoans, rotiferous, and algae. All of these microorganisms were seen in different water samples and in different powers of the microscope. To analyze different differences and comparisons between samples, we changed of samples among the teacher's samples and ours. As a guide to begin our experiment, we had been given with the more frequent elements we can find in these samples. The first one, named ciliates, is a single cell that it could be found around as free swimmers and usually covered with hair-like projections. Flagellates, single-celled jerky-free swimmers, have one or two longer hair-like projections. The other one is the amoeboides. They have no specific shape and they move by squeezing their cytoplasm. Finally, the sporozoans. They are parasitic protozoa that spend most or all of their cycle in a host organisms. After the observation and comparison between samples, we made our own sketch and description of what we had seen in our different samples and with every power of the microscope. Then, as a part of the activity, we made a discussion with some questions. The first question was: describe how the organism that you observed in number 6 above moved. Be detailed in your description. Include any structures. Take in note that number 6 space was specialized in drawing some different microorganisms that took our attention. As an answer to this question, we said, in the figure number 6, we saw a parasite from the class Ascaris. This parasite was trapped, so it can't move around. The structure that we saw that prevent the Ascaris to move was something like a ball that was inside the sample. In the middle of this kind of ball, we saw the Ascaris. What is the Ascaris? The Ascaris is a worm-like parasite that habitates in different and extreme places such as our stomachs, producing in us several damage and inconformities in our body. The second question said, in class, we discussed the importance of the microorganisms in ecology. Describe the importance of the microorganisms, including bacteria, and what would happen if all the microorganisms will suddenly disappear from the pond. in answer to this question, we said, if the microorganisms of the pond's ecosystem were taken, many useful elements to the preserve or of our life and the ecosystem would be lost, as the phytoplankton. The phytoplankton is a primary producer and has the ability of producing chemical energy of the energy extracted from the sun. Another useful element are the decomposers that have the ability of extracting all the useful elements such as calcium, phosphorus, and others from the dead body. Finally, the third question said, give an example of a primary producer that we observed in the pond water. What does it do to be called primary producer? In the pond that we analyzed very clearly, the phytoplankton was the primary producer from this ecosystem, because this one, the only autotroph organism among the ecosystem, uses the energy brought from the sun to make photosynthesis through the chloroplast. The phytoplankton changed the light energy into chemical energy, and after this change, it will be passed this energy to primary consumers as food, then later as heat, and other changes. At last, the fourth question said, draw or sketch a proper food chain in the water pond. You might need to research what are the food needs of the organisms you saw. In the following drawing, we can see the food chain of the ponds. Here we can see the primary producers are the phytoplankton, the ones who uses the energy sun to produce chemical energy. Here also you can see the primary consumers, the algae. These are composed by phosphate, nitrate, and oxygen. Then, here as you can see, they are the prey of the silvercaps. The silvercaps then pass to be the prey of the microorganisms we had been seeing, like flagellates, protozoans, and others. Here also we can see how the carps can take advantage of the bacteria, fungi, or garbage, some in other cases dead bodies or decomposed elements. In conclusion, now we can see that life is everywhere, and the ecosystems that bring together the life can be in every part and in every size. And the most important, they can be very, very valuable to the sustainment of the earth. Here we saw very important elements such as the phytoplankton and the decomposers that help to bring a better balance to the ecosystem. So here we can see that world is everywhere, and that a balance is very important to keep this harmony.